What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo, yo.
So, Nick, there's some news regarding Stipe and Jon Jones. According to Stipe's management, or according to Dana White, rather, he has accepted a fight with Jon Jones. I guess that was offered to him, one of the matchmakers, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Jon Jones has come out and said himself and via Mike Winklejohn that he is not interested in a fight with Stipe. He wants the big fight. He wants the title fight. But in reality, Stipe Miocic might be the biggest fight Jon can get right now, given the schedule and the outlook at heavyweight.
Yeah, this is a really weird stalemate that's taking place at heavyweight. And it felt for a second when Jon moved up and Cyril and Derek Lewis started to, really show their heads as top contenders, and Francis and Stipe were getting their things going, that we weren't going to have this long jam and this much of a delay at heavyweight. But in typical heavyweight fashion, they're starting to move at a much slower pace, and they're starting to line these fights up, not near as quickly as we'd like to see them as fans. I was really happy that they put this interim title on the line between Derek and Cyril, because that gave us some, structure as to who's getting Francis next. Francis didn't really seem too keen on fighting Derek or Cyril, and he didn't really seem that keen on fighting Stipe Miocic again. He wanted Jon Jones, but Jon Jones said he's not fighting until 2022. And it's like, well, Francis, you told us right after your last fight that you wanted to stay super active. So we've got you some fighters, and of course, if you keep you keep winning and you keep retaining that belt, of course you're going to get Jon Jones 2022. That's his return fight, and his first fight in the heavyweight division is going to be for a title. If you're good enough to keep your belt, it'll be against you. That seemed to be, just a weird situation that now took Stipe and Jon out of the running for 2021, which meant that we needed some clarity. And when you got the champion playing a little bit of hardball with the organization, the champion quickly realizes that the promotion has all the power, and they've kind of strong-armed him into fighting the winner of the interim title, which is Cyril Gane, which is, in my opinion, a tougher fight than Derek Lewis, which is who they originally wanted to see Francis in there with first. Now, what do you want to do? You choose to fight Derek. You choose to not fight Derek Lewis because you want to fight somebody else. Then you fight the guy that just dusted Derek in horrible fashion, maybe the worst fight we've seen Derek in ever. And so now it's interesting, because I want to see Francis Ngannou be forced into fighting Cyril Gane right now, and who knows that we could see a trilogy between those two, which means Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic are just going to be waiting in the wing for another year.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing, right? Because the general consensus and common knowledge was that Jon Jones is coming in, and his first fight is going to be for a title, and it's going to be against Francis Ngannou. Well, that really is not the case anymore. That's kind of yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a major stadium fight potentially in Paris between Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou. Probably, if that were to transpire, it would break live attendance records. It would do over 1 million pay-per-view buys. And Jon Jones becomes more of a want for Dana White and the matchmakers than a need. And in reality, let's say, for example, let me run this scenario by you. Cyril Gane and Francis have an incredible 5-round war, and Cyril edges out a close, controversial split decision victory or even unanimous decision victory, but it was a close fight. What are you going to do with Francis? Are you going to allow him to turn around and have his rematch? Because history tells us at heavyweight, if you're a good champion and you turn and you have a tough loss and you lose your belt, you get to come back for the rematch. Yeah. So what happens then? What happens? They make this fight, November, December, and then the belt changes hands. Cyril's now the champion, and Francis wants his rematch in mid-2022. Where does that put Jon and Stipe? And I think the only logical thing here for them to do is to fight each other. Yeah. Jon Jones hasn't fought in 2 years. The last couple times we saw him, it wasn't as impressive as he has been. Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I truly think right now Stipe is the biggest fight Jon can get at heavyweight, and I really mean that, because I think that if they put these two, Gane and Ngannou, in there together, and it does big numbers, then they may turn that around and run them back again, depending on how close that fight is. And we could have another heavyweight trilogy on our hands. And it could be end of the year 2022 or into 2023 before there's any real clarity. So if I'm Jon Jones, I haven't been in there in 2 years. I need to get in there and make sure that at heavyweight I can still perform the way that I think I can perform. Stipe Miocic is the biggest name that's not fighting for the belt right now. He's the greatest of all time at this division. You're the greatest of all time, arguably, in any division. Do this fight. It makes sense. And there's no clearer cut number one contender than the winner of that fight. So it almost becomes a four-man tournament, right? You have Cyril and Francis for the belt, and you have Jon and Stipe for the belt. And I think if Jon comes out of that victorious, even with a finish of Stipe, even if Gon and Francis have a close fight and the belt changes hands, that they would give the nod to Jon before, due to activity and due to a finish or a defeat of Stipe Miocic. But if he just continues to sit on the sidelines and all we have to go off of is his performance against Dominic Reyes 2 years ago, well, then I think that does change things quite substantially.
Yeah, this almost feels like a retirement for Jon. I mean, he's not been active at all, and it's because of his body of work over his years and years of fighting and winning, he's kind of earned the spot to be moved right into a number one contender spot. But, I mean, how much longer are we going to do that? I honestly think that it's what we're seeing at heavyweight is the exact same thing we were seeing at welterweight not too long ago, where all the top guys were just kind of holding out for each other. And they're all, Colby didn't want to fight anybody that wasn't named Kamaru Usman. And then, Masvidal was waiting for his opportunity with Usman, and all these people were just kind of waiting. And it's not a way to beat out or outsmart the promotion, but it is a way to really create a logjam and kind of infuriate some fighters and the promoter by just nobody taking fights. And then eventually they start bringing people in from the lower ranks, and they start creeping their way right into the top contention. Now, look at Cyril Gane. That's exactly the position he's in. Now he wound up with a gold strap around his waist. So I would like to see these guys just pair up. Just go ahead and do it. A loss doesn't make or break you in this game. Look at Francis Ngannou. He's lost to Derek. He's lost to Stipe. He's currently the champion of the world. One loss to one of these guys who is clearly the top four, top five heavyweights in the world is not going to set you back all that much. And look, if you feel confident in your skills, you think you can beat anybody that's in the top five of the heavyweight division, then go out there and prove it. You'll be guaranteed a title shot. And, you can't really fault the UFC if they get a great fight out of Cyril and Ngannou. They're going to have to run it back. I feel like they kind of screwed Stipe Miocic with his trilogy. So I would like to see Stipe get the next match if Cyril and Francis isn't that competitive of a fight or doesn't warrant a rematch. But, I could see them kind of screwing Stipe once more and moving Jon into it. But for me, I would really like to see Stipe get the shot after Cyril and Francis settle their business. And Jon Jones, if he's fine to wait and he just wants to keep waiting and waiting and waiting and aging and growing and getting older and getting a little slower, then that's on him. Nobody's pressuring him to fight. If he wants to wait till the opportunity's right, he can do that. Jon's been very lucky and very privileged in his life, and I don't contribute at all to being luck, because I do think it took a tremendous amount of skill and dedication from Jon to get to where he is. But I don't know. I wouldn't waste these years on just waiting around for a title shot that could be 18 months away.
Totally agree with you. And there's very few people that can main event a pay-per-view card without it being a title fight. I'm talking Conor McGregor, the Diaz boys, Jorge Masvidal, and the list kind of stops there, right?
Right.
If Jon and Stipe were to fight, that is a pay-per-view main event that's a mega fight. Yeah. And so they can add themselves to the list. So yeah. I think it makes sense for them to do this fight. I'd love to see it. I think it solidifies the winner as the next shot, regardless of what happens in the Gane versus Ngannou fight. But if both of them don't fight and those two go out and have a banger, they may just run it back again, and then they're screwing themselves for most of 2022. So I hope they make this fight happen. It's a big pay-per-view. It'd be a lot of fun. You're talking about the greatest of all time in Jon Jones against the baddest fighter of all time, because that's what the greatest heavyweight of all time is in truth, right? Because it's the biggest guy in the best division, the best guy in the biggest division in Stipe Miocic. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great matchup. I do think it actually favors Jon. So if I'm Jon, I'm taking this fight. But, you never know with him. Jon has given us some things to talk about, and he's been a wild card for many, many years now. So we don't know what he's going to do.
Yep. Hopefully we get some clarity on this one soon.
I hope so. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the content, a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. And feel free to leave us a review. It helps us out tremendously. Until the next one, guys, have a wonderful day.
Peace.